Moderator, if you are ready, you may begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we end systematic inequalities today? In 2025, the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs, or known as UNDESA, delivered a sobering reality check. But before I continue, hello and assalamualaikum to Miss Najiha and everyone joining us today. Our discussion centers on SDG 10, reduce inequalities, and our forum is titled Breaking the Cycle, Can We End Systematic Inequality? When we think of systematic inequality, we think of wealth gap. Well, ladies and gentlemen, UNDESA recently reported that this isn't just about wealth gap. It's a vicious cycle where economic insecurity and a deepening trust deficit in our institution fed off one another. Progress is simply not enough. Today, we move beyond the economy to discuss to and how can we end systematic inequalities? With us, we have distinguished panels. A lead researcher at the Global Equity Institute, Dr. NURUL binti YUZAWIZU. Senior Lecturer of Development Economics at Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia, Professor Dr. Tina IPTIANA binti MOSA. Director of the Human Rights Advocacy Group, Miss Nurul ALYA FARHANA binti YUSUP. Educational sociologist and author Dr. Siti SYALWANI binti AMMARAN. And lastly, coordinator of the Community Action Network, Miss ALIYA MAISARA binti ZAMRI. Without further ado, we begin with Dr. Nur Alia Najwa. Hello, Doctor. Dr. Alia, your work focuses on the disconnection between data and public perception. Based on current studies, how is society viewing this stagnation?
Thank you to moderator Miss Dayang Husna. Good afternoon to Miss Nurul Naziha and all my respected panels. I'm Nur Ali Najwa, the lead researcher at the Global Equity Institute. For our panel discussion titled Breaking the Cycle, Can We End Systematic Inequality? I will focus on the society perspective and current research on systematic inequalities. Based on the journal I read, which is Quantitative Research and Inequality Narrative, a Systematic Review, McGuinness and co-authors 2025 explained that systematic inequality persists through interconnected structures such as housing, wealth distribution, employment, education, and access to opportunity, which continue to disadvantage groups based on race, gender, and social class. People generally feel that big gaps between the rich and poor are unfair, but they cannot agree on how to fix the problem. Um, while most people, sorry, while most people don't talk about inequality every day, it is often that the hidden spark behind huge protests like Black Lives Matter. And the reason many voters choose outsider or populist politicians. People want the world to be more equal, but they get nervous when the government tries to take big steps, like taking money from the wealthy to give to the poor, or we call it redistribution, or using special hiring rules, affirmative action. They usually prefer smaller, lighter change that benefit everyone at once. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alia, especially for highlighting that perspective on perception of the gap. It's an eye-opening to learn how the public feels versus what the data shows. Moving on, we have Professor Dr. Tina Ibtiana. Hello, Professor. I've read before on UNDESA report mentions inequality is built into the system. As an expert in development economics, what are the core factors driving this cycle today, Dr. Tina?
So thank you, Ms. Moderator, and greeting to my fellow panelists. So as an economic expert, I will bring our focus to a critical areas where the inequalities manifest and perpetuate itself, our education systems. So today, I will talk about the factors that contributing to the education system is. So one of the major factors is the socio-economic status. So when we are often hear that where we are born will determine your success, but in the reality doesn't determine your success, but in the reality it does affect. So those who born with a silver spoon in their mouth will tend to get a better quality access of educations. And for example, top tier learning environment, the parental academic support, and also the technology of access. So in contrary, so those who born in the low-income household will tend to face a financial issue, the need to balance between the family responsibilities with the schooling, and also the limited access to technology. So this this disparity has become severe and severe during the COVID-19 pandemic, where everything have to shift to online-based learning. So some of the students even climb to a tree as they want to have a great stable connectivity of internet as they want to submit their assignment. So this indicates that the unequal outcomes has been starting long before the students enter the classroom. So that's all for me.
Thank you, Professor. A very insightful analysis. Thank you for breaking down those structural drivers for us. Let's move on to Miss Nurul Alia Farhana. Hello, Miss Alia. It is known that you've been vocal about trust deficit. On why is it so urgent that we overcome these institutional barriers right now? So the question is to Miss Alia. Why is it so important for us to overcome these institutional barriers for a long run?
Thank you to Ms. Dayang Nur Husna, the moderator, and greetings to my fellow panelists. In my opinion, it is very important to overcome systemic inequality because I believe that it actually fundamentally limits human potential. According to an article that I recently read, those people who live in rural area, they faces different opportunity than those who live in an urban area. For example, as we can see, those people who live in rural areas, they are connected with underfunded school and also limited access to healthy food. And this literally highlight the core injustice, and it is due to the failure for the system to provide same or equal starting point. And in addition, I also think that it is very important to overcome this issue ultimately in terms of healthcare. And currently, the biggest disparity that we can observe is those who live in rural area. They could not get the right treatment, not because they don't have the money to do so, but because the healthcare infrastructures does not reach them. So it is very important to overcome this issue because I believe that health is not a privilege, but it is a fundamental. So everyone has to play their own role to overcome this issue. That's all.
Thank you, Miss Alia. It is true. I believe that without a single trust even if the policy went on for several years, it's just a paper if we do not trust the policy or if none of the action is taken. So thank you, Miss Alia. Dr. Siti Shalwani, hello, doctor. Looking at the social lens for UN advocates my question is, how exactly do these systematic barriers restrict the life opportunities of individuals around us, individuals and communities?
Okay, first of all, good afternoon to all the panelists. So, as we know how important the social equality among the community, we also should acknowledge how bad social inequality can affect one person or maybe a country. So, from the article that I have researched, according to the Pre et al. 2021, the default representation of Black Americans is low status, while Benazzi et al. Say that the structural belief that Blacks are low status appear in associating them with jobs such as janitor, dishwasher, garbage collector, and others. So this evidence shows that a person's social background affect how they are treated and trusted by the others. Therefore, discrimination is in social is unfair and quite harmful. So in a country with billions of talented individuals, should such potential be wasted rather than harnessed to drive national advancement? So that's all from me.
Thank you, Dr. Shalwani. A powerful reminder, ladies and gentlemen, that those aren't just statistics, they are real life that's having limited opportunities. Finally, Ms. ALYA MAISARA, the UN suggests that moving past symbolic commitments. So, Ms. ALYA, my question to you, how can collective efforts actually deliver the transformative shift we need right now?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Moderator. So for me, collective efforts play an important role in reducing systemic inequality because actually they help create support system for people who are always felt like they always being left out. When communities work together, they actually can provide individuals or small groups offered yeah actually, one important point is shared knowledge and awareness. Through collective discussions and education programs, people learn about inequality and understand its causes. This awareness encourages society to treat others more fairly and respectfully. Uh, Other than that, collective responsibility in workplaces and schools when organizations work together to promote fair hiring, equal pay, and inclusive education. Actually, discrimination can be reduced. These efforts help create equal opportunities for everyone. That's all from me.
Thank you, Ms. Alia, especially for that call out to action. It's clear to me now that community power is a key for our puzzle, the question today. Thank you all for those opening perspective. Right now, let's open the floor for a brief discussion. Me, myself, I've read UN DESA, the 2025 reports. They suggest that global framework like SDG 10 are stagnating because we aren't investing enough in quality education and health. Since we're talking about education, why not ask our educators? So first started, let's ask Dr. Shalwani. Doctor, if we invest in health and education, but the trust deficit that we talked with Miss Alia remain, will people even utilize these services?
Okay, thank you for the question. So in my opinion, people will use those services even if there's a trust deficit. So especially when those are essential to their daily life. But however, a lack of trust may reduce the quality of the engagement and long-term effectiveness of the services. So therefore, building trust is still important to ensure this investment achieve their full impact.
Thank you, Dr. Syalwani. I'm interested to know if Professor Tina have the same opinion with Dr. Syalwani. Professor?
Thank you, Ms. Moderator. So I'm totally on the same page with Dr. Syalwani as with the points of increase the engagements with the community. So my answer to the question is they won't if we ignore the trust. So the example of Miss ALYA reveals the painful truth behind it. So the inequality isn't about the lack of the schools or the clinics. It's about the being ignored for so long until the trust slowly fade away. So people won't use the clinic if they feel the system has failed them, and a student won't engage if they feel unseen. So without the trust, service is just a pointless. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Tina. It is true. If that were to happen, then the education level in our country would drop. So does the health. Now, moving on to a second question. This one open to the remaining panelists. From what I've read, United Nations DESA 2025 report says that progress is not fast enough. So do you think that the current global framework like SDG 10 are actually capable of fixing this, or are they just slowing us down with more some sort of symbolic paperwork? Can I start with maybe Miss Alia? Farhana.
Okay, thank you for the question. In my view, SDG 10 is important, but it cannot fix inequality on its own. These global frameworks provide guidance, but real change happens at the local level. Sometimes too much focus on paperwork distracts government from addressing real issues faced by communities. So, to be effective, SDG 10 should support local initiative instead of replacing direct action. Yeah.
Thank you, Miss Alia MAISARA. The question remains for both of the panel. Either Dr. Alia or Miss Ali or Miss Alia wants to take the floor.
Can I start first?
Sure, Doctor.
I agree with Miss Alia Maisara. Okay, so we can put it into a simplest term possible. Think of SDG 10 as a great book for the world. If a teacher, which is the United Nations, notice that some students are failing while others are getting private tutors, they can create a great book to track everyone process. But just having great book doesn't actually give the failing students tutor or more food. We can assume SDG 10 like a thermometer. It's just a tool to tell us how sick the world is. It is useful, but it doesn't cure the disease. Also, we can say SDG 10 as a shield. It is a way to for rich countries to pretend they are helping while keeping the system the same. Um, so SDG 10 is not actually slowing us down, but actually the politics and greed of individual countries is what slow us down. The paperwork is just the proof that we are not moving fast enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alia. Lastly, do we have Miss Alia Farhana with us?
Yes. Thank you for the question, Ms. Moderator. As for me, the slow progress cited by the UN data suggests that SDG 10 is currently acting more as a diagnostic tool than a cure. And while symbolic paperwork help us measure
Miss Alia, are you there? Miss Alia. It seems like we lost Miss Alia Farhana. However, everyone have given a very good point. As we wrap up, it's clear that breaking the cycle requires moving beyond just symbols towards systematic investment. We cannot afford to let these vicious cycles continue. I would like to extend my deepest thanks to our wonderful panelists for their time and expertise today, and to Ms. Najiha and audience for your attention. Let's try to turn these insights into action. With that, let's end the forum. Thank you and Assalamu alaikum.
All right, thank you so much, Group 3, for the panel discussion.